So my name is Matthew Griffin. When we talk about the Internet of Things, I sort of prefer to talk about the Internet of everything. On the one hand, basically, I'm working with the likes of President Modi out in India here we go. I don't know what's that doing. So I work with the likes of Prime Minister Modi out in India to build smart cities for Indians. So over the next 10 to 15 years, we'll have around 100 million Indians living in smart stuff. I work with Google X Prize, so this year I'm mentoring a number of X Prize lunar teams, and we'll be putting robots and all sorts of bits and pieces on the moon. But yeah, it's a fun world. Some people call me a futurist. I work across the spectrum, and I work typically to about 2050. Some of my clients push me to 2075. So we're headed for an interesting world. So we'll take your report. Yeah. The heating comes on at 1 a.m. in the morning and turns itself to 38 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, my smart pillow, which registers the hormones that regulate my circadian rhythm, find the optimum wake-up time, communicate with my VPA, turn on the lights, turns on iTunes, blasts it out, and wakes me up at 1 o'clock in the morning. Half an hour later, it does it again, and it does it again, and it does it again. Downstairs, I hear my smart TV turning on, and it's blasting out Channel 4. Hollyoaks has come on again, but it's now 2:30 a.m. in the morning, and I can't get any sleep. Meanwhile, my health checker is connected with the Met Office, and it's figured out that it's going to be hot and sunny outside. So it's communicated with my implanted medical device, my pacemaker, and it's decided to shock my heart. But that's fine, because my pacemaker is connected to the NHS, and I now have an autonomous ambulance heading my way. Meanwhile, my autonomous car is phoning up my work and telling me that I'm going to be late. However, all of this basically is now tracked back to the big social database in the sky, particularly if you're in China. And because I'm late to work that day, it's affected my social credit score. Welcome to the future. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a little bit of a step back, and we're going to run through some high-level things. Has anyone come across this saying before? So, 2 questions. Does anyone know who said this? And if you don't know who said this, when do you think they said this? We can go to decades. Don't be shy. Oh, no. So, this was actually said by Leonardo da Vinci in 1484. He was talking about living systems. It wasn't necessarily predicting the Internet of Things, but he knows, and he knew at that time, that everything was connected. So we're coming full circle. Now, today, this is the typical description of the Internet of Things. Has anyone noticed something that is glaringly wrong with that definition? So, the interconnection via the Internet of embedded computing devices that enables them to send and receive data. What's the big red spot basically on that? Yeah, could be. It's the Internet. The Internet is increasingly going away. The Internet that we know basically is the thing on our browser is just starting to be ingested into the world of connected stuff. So in a couple of years, that definition on Wikipedia will need updating. When we talk about the size of the Internet of Things, it's big. Let's just leave it there. I'm not an analyst. And we have a variety of new trends that are coming down the line. So we've got at least 10 large trends. We've got autonomous vehicles, connected home, global hive mind. Are you already part of a global hive mind? We've got the democratization of information. We've got artificial intelligence, which is starting to democratize expertise. You're already starting to get a little bit of a hive mind, and that's before we connect your brain into AI, using things like the neural lace or brain-machine interfaces. Human 2. You always think you're going to be human. Where do you think this technology goes next? Does it get glued to you in a wearable, or does it eventually go into us? That's human 2. Internet of Everything, robo-revolution. When we talk about robo-revolution, that's everything from AI, cognitive computing, all the way through to bots and general automation technologies, robots, drones, all that kind of stuff. The singularity, that's supposed to be hitting us by 2045. That's basically when we're going to be dumber than a connected shoe. Smart cities, synthetic biology, wearables, there's all sorts of manner of things basically coming down the line to us. And a lot of this is actually here today. You just don't necessarily see it. So when we talk about changing the world, if you really want to change the world and you really want to disrupt things, then typically you need three levers. You need, on the left-hand side, you need exponential technologies, and we have lots and lots of those. On the right-hand side, you need the right organizational culture, vision, innovation quotient, all those kinds of things. And then on the bottom, if you really want to disrupt things, you need things like accessibility. You need to get your products adopted, things like network effects, things like regulations. Yeah? Autonomous vehicles, for example. We could have everything in place, but if the regulator says they can't go on the road, they're not on the road. They don't change anything. We've got generational bias and cultural bias and all sorts of things. But typically, when you have a look at the west coast of the US, they do a lot of that very well, which is why we've seen over 200 companies go from zero to multi-billion-dollar revenues in just a few years, which is about a 4,000-fold increase, basically, on where we were in the 1990s. So when we have a look at the next technologies that are coming down the line, the next game-changing products and services that we're going to be creating, that we're going to be basing the Internet of Things on, is all going to be technology. You take technologies, you combine them, that's your next product or service. You then wrap an execution model and a go-to-market model around that, that's your business. Today, can't really see it on this projector, today there are over 170 significant emerging technologies coming down the line. Each one of these little bullets basically is worth $500 billion, anywhere up to about $6 trillion. Everything from things like nanotechnology, gene editing, blockchain, artificial intelligence, hack-proof code. If you want to make sure that you don't get hacked in the future, hack-proof code's a good way to go. We have all sorts of things. 3D printing, 4D printing, molecular assemblers. So British Aerospace, only recently actually, managed to grow a drone. They grew it in a vat. The technologies that we have today basically are already exponential. We can teleport information around the planet. We've got tractor beams. We can print food. There's lots and lots of different things coming down the line. When we talk about disruption, if you step back 100 years ago to the 1900s, it would take about 90 years to disrupt an industry, so these are actually real figures. Today, we're now at the point where we can disrupt an industry roughly in about 7 to 9 years, depending on the industry. In the future, though, basically we can get to the point where we can start disrupting industries much, much quicker than that. And generally, we can see how we can disrupt industries within a 2 to 3 year time frame. And I'll come on to that in a bit. In addition to that, what we have is we've got exponential technologies coming up. Those are combining. They're creating new exponential products and services. We have more and more people coming online. So at the moment, we have 3.5 billion people on the planet who are connected. Over the next 5 to 10 years, basically, we will have 7 to 7.2 billion people connected. We'll come on to that. But as for the disruption time, this is a shoe. It was designed by artificial intelligence. It was 3D printed. It sells for about $300. But this particular shoe in the future is going to be special. Because who's got the highest IQ in the room? You want to stick a hand up? Say, go on. Someone stick a hand up? Yes. He's very, very clever. A human genius has an IQ of about 200. In the year 2045, the chip, the microchip in this shoe will have an IQ of 10,000. And that's according to AMD. When you look at the projections of where we're going with chip technology and development and everything else, that chip in that shoe means that that product will be smarter than all of us in this room, easily. It could run a business by itself. Increasingly, when we're talking about the next generation of industries, we're on Industry 4 at the moment. I call this Industry X. We're already starting to see artificial intelligence that is creating its own business. We have creative AIs that are making products. We have creative AIs that are starting to build businesses, scale businesses. There's a business on Wall Street called Ada. It's a fully artificial intelligence, fully autonomous hedge fund, and it's investing hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So we're getting to the point where we have fully autonomous organizations now. But increasingly, as we start heading towards the Internet of Things, AI is going to take more of the grunt from us. It's going to take more of the load. It's going to take more of the decision-making away from us. You know, today you might have come up in the elevator and you trusted that the elevator was going to stop at the right floor. Tomorrow, when you get into an autonomous vehicle, you're going to trust that an AI is going to be pressing the brake pedal. And we go further down the rabbit hole. So increasingly, we are passing trust in the number of transactions to machines. And there's going to be a flip, and we reckon that flip's going to be in about 2025. We want to go there basically when we talk about the Internet of Things, privacy and security. Recently, the Mirai botnet took down the entire US East Coast and very, very big portions of the European internet because people managed to use them to create a botnet that just did DDoS attacks. The biggest DDoS attacks basically we have ever seen on the planet to take out chunks of the internet. When we talk about privacy, it's all very well giving up our data basically to all these big organizations, but increasingly, when you give your data to one organization, do you know what they're going to do with it? Could you get it back? You know, GDPR, basically, as we've seen, sort of helps you get a little bit of that back. But how many of you actually control any of your data? And at the moment, basically, while you're used to giving up all your data online, increasingly, you're giving up all of your data offline. In this room, basically, they're already using Wi-Fi location to figure out basically which room you're in, who you're listening to, who's falling asleep. We can read your emotions basically with Wi-Fi. If you step out basically into the streets, particularly in Rio, Chicago, and all these other places, we have persistent drones in the sky that are watching you 24/7. We have planet-wide satellite networks now that can watch you in real time to a 30-centimeter resolution. They can identify your gate from space. They can identify that you left your house at this time and that you returned at a particular time. It's a company called Orbital Insight and a company called Planet. And the hedge funds love those. So what we're going to do is going to have a quick gallop around the world, basically in a couple of industries, just to sort of show you what's changing. So extreme life extension. This will be a new industry that comes up. At the moment, we can 3D print organs. So from a healthcare perspective, we 3D print an organ. We can 3D print a sensor into it. And at the moment, so for example, we can 3D print a heart. You can put a sensor basically into a heart. You can then put that heart basically into an individual, and they will live longer. However, the sensors basically in that particular heart will detect that the heart is working suboptimally. It can either call your doctor. It can either apply a different type of shock to make sure that it kicks the heart back into the right type of beat, or you can get shocked and die. So when we talk about extreme life extension, we've already got a huge variety of different technologies that are coming through that can quite easily take us to live to 150 years and beyond. We've uploaded information. We've downloaded information from our brains. Healthcare is a very, very exciting place to be at the moment. Now, for those of you who are looking to create Internet of Things products and services, fundamentally, if we have a look at how we used to do this in the past, we've changed. You know, traditionally, you'd solve the existing need. Now we can predict the need. Doesn't matter whether you're a digital product manufacturer or a hardware product manufacturer. We used to produce standalone products, but now those products are all connected. We used to produce reactive and opportunistic data sets. Now we're building information ecosystems. The revenue model has changed. You know, we used to buy a product once, just with cash. Now it's a subscription model. You know, security cameras, you used to buy a security camera once, basically stick it at the front of your house, and that was it. Now you buy it as a subscription. When we look at control points, it used to be brand and IP, but now it's personalization. The reason you stay with a particular brand is because they've really managed to personalize your experience. They've gotten to know you. And then when we talk about business scalability, you know, if you were building a product basically in the past, let's say, for example, we were taking a washing machine, Whirlpool would sell you a washing machine, that's their business with you done, unless you needed some parts. Now, Whirlpool can enter the retail market, They can create an intelligent washing machine that orders things automatically from Amazon. Whirlpool can take a cut of that. Suddenly, while Whirlpool might have made £200, maybe not even that, basically on the original washing machine, now basically they are making money every single time you order something. Same with groceries, same with any white appliance. And that market alone basically is worth about $364 billion at the moment. You can disrupt banks with that model. So as we start getting onto some of the industries, autonomous vehicles, basically those are just vehicles with AI and sensors. When we start having a look at the agricultural industry, that cow basically has got a variety of sensors in it. Those sensors now communicate back with the farmer to tell him when the cow is ill. In the future, we get rid of the cow and we get rid of the farm because we now have vertical farms that are full, jam-packed, full of sensors, robots and drones and all sorts of bits and pieces that are now generating 9 crops a year. They're 98% efficient. They reduce waste by about 98% as well. And we're already starting to see a lot of vertical farms rolling out in Japan, New York, and all those sorts of other places. So the farm goes away. This is the Virgin Galactic. Civil aviation is changing. These are smart materials basically on the wings. Again, sensors all over these different types of transportation mediums basically means that as this enters the atmosphere at about Mach 13, you've got smart skin and smart fabric that detects the airflow, sends it to an AI brain, and the AI brain modifies the glide path. Couldn't have done that in the past, let alone things like the rocket burn. If you really want to start scaling up the Internet of Things, you need a big satellite network. So we're launching 1,200 satellites a year at the moment, and we're going to have total planetary communication capabilities within the next 5 years, thanks to organizations like Virgin, SpaceX, Qualcomm, those kinds of guys. So these guys basically are now connecting the last 3.5 billion people on the planet. So if you are in the products business, if you're in the digital content or services business, and I gave you access to another 3.5 billion people, does that do anything for your business? Is that an interesting consumer market to go after? When we talk about weapons and defense, we now have fully autonomous drone platforms and squadrons coming out of Jacksonville, Florida. We have $4 billion warships that can run fully autonomously. We have Sea Hunter, which is a miner, which is a sort of a mine hunter. That's fully autonomous as well. We have drones, where so we've got all sorts of things. Weapons and warfare, whether it's hypersonic missiles, cruise missiles, everything is going autonomous, fully autonomous. Submarines. When we talk about energy and renewables, when we start strapping sensors basically into a whole variety of wind farm. So wind farm turbines, basically you can improve the efficiency of wind turbines by about 30% by putting a sensor into them. They just simply detect, they modify it. When we talk about things like solar, again, you can boost solar output. You can boost nuclear output. When we talk about financial services isn't really too reliant on the Internet of Things. But nevertheless, if we can help you, if we can use the Internet of Things to help you live longer and make different investment choices, then that has a knock-on effect basically with pensions, annuities, capital investment markets. When we talk about healthcare, sensors are going in you. So these are the next generation of nanobots. Basically, this particular one basically is actually a concept, but this is a concept that is bridging damaged neurons basically in your brain. Today, basically, we have brain-controlled nanobots that can float around basically in your bloodstream, or they can propel themselves around in your bloodstream using small enzyme engines. They will detect small snippets of cancer, so they detect a particular gene, and they will communicate that back to a GP, back to a healthcare provider. So as soon as you get even the smallest cancerous cell growing in your body, someone knows about it. And those technologies are here today. We've got nanobots, we've got a whole bunch of things basically at the moment that are now starting to do in vitro operations. All of these things are smart because everything new that we're building today basically is smart. It's got sensors strapped into it. When we talk about the insurance sector basically about 4 or 5 years ago, basically we're thinking, oh, woe betide is us. But as everything becomes connected, the amount of systemic risk in the system is potentially catastrophic. And that's good if you're an insurer. When we have a look at the manufacturing sector, increasingly we are now 3D printing, whether it's sort of engines and turbine systems like this, thanks to GE. But we're now using all this technology. We're strapping loads and loads of sensors basically into these engines. And again, can be building whatever. It could be a ship. It could be an oil rig. Scale it up. And we're creating a digital twin. Now we use virtual reality and augmented reality to go and interact with the digital twins. So, for example, this platform here, this turbine, will dial up an operator, say, my life expectancies are halved. And the operator can talk to it just using natural language and say, tell me why. And it'll say, well, you manually adjusted the rotations per minute. And my turbine is now starting to erode. There's a bit of a friction issue. And I calculate that my mean time between failures has just halved. Okay. Okay, turbine number 01. What should I do about it? Well, you can either manually change the revolutions per minute, or I can download an artificially intelligent app from the App Store that can sort this problem out. And if you download the app from the App Store and let me install it for you just on turbine 01, we can actually increase the operational efficiency of the turbine from 2 years to 4 years. So digital twins basically going all over the place. When we talk about the mining sector, the natural resources sector, companies like BHP Billiton, Rio Tinto, they are almost 100% autonomous. We're talking about the trains being autonomous. We're talking about the buckets being autonomous. We're talking about mining operations anywhere down to about 3 kilometers being fully autonomous. We're talking about fully autonomous ships. So mining and all these other sort of different industries are going fully autonomous. When we talk about government services, the more connected government services that we have, apparently the better. So healthcare, social services, tax. These in retail basically is a cornucopia at the moment of big data and personalization. So what we can now do is we can now create a 3D representation of something like a sneaker. So you can get an AI to create these sneakers. Rather than having to ship goods, you can push the digital file basically for these sneakers to a tablet into an Adidas store or an Under Armour store. You as a consumer can go in, you can start modifying and playing around with it, you can change the color, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can print them off in the back. That store now no longer has to hold inventory. And you've just personalized your product, and they're going to charge you more for that. So we're going digital. Robots. Basically, we are now in the stage basically where robots communicate via a hive mind. So you teach one robot one thing, and the rest of the fleet knows it instantaneously. No more robot coding, no more robot programming, which was expensive and holding back Industry 3. When we look at ubiquitous computing, we are developing computing technologies that are smaller than viruses. We already have computers that are the size of a grain of rice. And all of these have got communications, memory, compute, sensors packed into them. So these things will become ubiquitous. And then finally, as we talk about the autonomous transportation sector, we talk very readily about autonomous cars. Everything is going autonomous, basically from 500,000-ton cargo ships, which will start being fully autonomous from the year 2025, all the way through to trams, boats, semi-trucks, drones, you name it. So everything has sensors. And that brings me nicely back to the Internet of Everything. So there you go. So any questions? See?
Okay, so
I tried to pack a little bit in there for you.
So while you all get over your shock, Matthew, thank you very much. Come join us for the panel.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.